But for more on Javad Zarif's resignation from Iran's parliament, journalist and author Tara Kangalu joins us now from London. Thank you very much for joining us, Tara. So what lies behind this resignation?
Well, first of all, this is not the first time that the foreign minister has expressed his rage and frustration with the hardliners that are essentially in opposition to his engaging and moderate foreign policy agenda. But this time is very different. It comes at a very sensitive and critical time, at a time when President Trump has pulled out of the Iran deal, something that was incredibly important to Foreign Minister Zarif and President Rouhani, but also the fact that yesterday Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president, went to Iran without the foreign ministry's knowing, and the foreign minister was not present in this very, very critical meeting.
So we know that Rouhani hasn't accepted his resignation yet, and that there is actually an impact from the parliament not to accept that resignation. What do you think will happen next?
Absolutely. The foreign minister's announcement came very late last night, and immediately many foreign diplomats and Iran's ambassadors around the world came out to his defense and said essentially, we will quit if his resignation go through. And today, over 150 politicians and members of the parliament raised their voice. But what's very critical and important is how the Iranian people are raising their concerns about the foreign minister's resignation and the possibility of him leaving the administration. For many years, whether this administration or Rouhani's first term, the foreign minister served as the ambassador of reform and engagement and moderation. And many Iranians, millions of them who want to belong to the international community, essentially voted for Rouhani to have Zarif.
So he's been very critical. He had some harsh words. He gave an interview to a newspaper and he said the foreign policy is being poisoned by party and factional fighting. Why did he say that, and what do you expect to happen next?
Absolutely. More than anything, whether Zarif stays or not, this reflects the very volatile domestic divide and gap between the hardliners who make up the nucleus of the regime that are very different than the majority moderates that are represented by Zarif. He's frustrated, and U.S. President Trump's decision to make it harder for JCPOA to give the fruits that it once promised does not make this easier.
So is this, though, directly linked to his role as a negotiator in the nuclear deal?
Of course. Hardliners in Iran did not want that. The hardliners and conservatives make a lot of money through Iran being isolated, through Iran being sanctioned, and they don't want to belong to the rest of the world. But Zarif represents the millions of people who were tired for years of these sanctions, and the ordinary Iranians that want to move forward from decades of isolation.
Well, we have to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for that insight and for joining us here in the studio, Tara Kangalu.
Thank you so much for having me.